Hello there, and welcome to a quiet corner where science meets wonder and curiosity is allowed to breathe. Tonight, we're not rushing toward answers or chasing the latest discovery. Instead, we're slowing down to notice something that's been hiding in plain sight, something so fundamental to your existence that you experience it every single day, yet probably never think about it. Something that connects you to the deepest rhythms of the cosmos while you sleep. What if I told you that right now, as you're listening to this, you're sitting inside one of the most powerful biological signals in the universe? Not a radio wave from space, not some exotic particle, but something far more intimate. Something that's been shaping life on this planet for billions of years, and something that's quietly orchestrating the very rhythm of your thoughts right now. We're talking about Earth's shadow. And before you click away thinking this is just another astronomy lesson, stay with me, because what we're about to explore isn't really about shadows at all. It's about you. It's about why you get sleepy when you do, why your body knows when to heal itself, and why every living thing on this planet, from the tiniest bacteria to the largest whale, dances to the same invisible conductor. Tonight, we're going to uncover the secret hidden in Earth's shadow. Not the shadow you see on the ground when you block the sun, but something far more profound. A biological symphony that's been playing for eons, written in darkness, conducted by the slow rotation of our planet. And by the time we're done, you'll never look at nightfall the same way again. But first, let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're standing on a hill just before sunset, watching the eastern horizon. Most people at this moment are looking west, toward the colourful sky where the sun is setting. But if you turn around and look east, you'll see something remarkable. A dark blue band rising from the horizon, stretching nearly 180 degrees across the sky. It's subtle at first, easy to miss if you're not looking for it. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. That band is Earth's shadow, cast by our own planet onto its own atmosphere. You're watching the edge of night creeping towards you at over 1,000 miles per hour. You're seeing the terminator, the line that separates day from night, the boundary that every point on Earth crosses twice daily. And in that moment, you're witnessing one of the most important biological signals your body will ever receive. This line, this shadow, this daily transition from light to darkness is far more than a simple astronomical event. It's the metronome that has kept time for life on Earth since the very beginning. It's the conductor's baton that signals the start of one of the most mysterious and essential processes your body performs: sleep. But here's where things get interesting. That shadow you're watching isn't just affecting you. Right now, as that terminator line sweeps across the planet, it's triggering a cascade of biological responses in every living thing it touches. In the forests, trees are beginning to slow their photosynthesis. In the oceans, microscopic plankton are starting to migrate vertically through the water column. In cities around the world, humans are unconsciously beginning to wind down for the night. And deep inside your brain, in a cluster of cells smaller than a rice grain, something remarkable is happening. Your body's master clock, located in a region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, is receiving the message that darkness is coming. And in response, it's beginning to orchestrate one of the most complex biological processes we know of. This is the secret we're here to explore. Not just what happens when you sleep, but why it happens when it does. Why your body has this built-in timer that seems to know, without you consciously thinking about it, when it's time to rest. Why this timer is so precise that it can be reset by something as simple as the presence or absence of light. And why, when this system gets disrupted, everything from your mood to your immune system to your ability to think clearly begins to fall apart. The story begins about 4.5 billion years ago, when Earth first formed. Back then, our planet was spinning much faster than it does today. A day lasted only about 6 hours. There were no oceans, no atmosphere as we know it, and certainly no life. But even then, there was a cycle of light and darkness, a rhythm that would eventually become the heartbeat of all biological life, As the planet cooled and the first primitive life forms emerged in the primordial oceans, they encountered this rhythm. Light and darkness, over and over, millions of times, and something extraordinary happened. These simple organisms began to synchronize their internal processes with this external rhythm. They developed internal clocks, molecular mechanisms that could anticipate the coming of light and darkness and prepare for it. This wasn't conscious, of course. These were single-celled organisms with no brains, no nervous systems, no awareness in any sense we would recognize. But at the molecular level, they were learning. They were adapting. They were becoming creatures of time. Over millions of years, as life grew more complex, this relationship between internal biological clocks and the external rhythm of light and darkness became more sophisticated. Organisms that could better predict and prepare for the daily changes in their environment had a survival advantage. They could time their activities to match the availability of resources, the presence of predators, the optimal conditions for reproduction, and so, built into the very DNA of every living thing, we find these molecular clocks. Genes that turn on and off in roughly 24-hour cycles. Proteins that build up and break down in sync with the rotation of the Earth. Hormones that rise and fall like tides, following the ancient rhythm of light and shadow. In humans, this system has reached extraordinary sophistication. Your body doesn't just have one clock, it has trillions of them. Every cell in your body contains its own molecular timepiece, all of them synchronized by that master clock in your brain. And what synchronizes the master clock? The daily cycle of light and darkness created by Earth's shadow. But here's what makes this truly remarkable. Your body doesn't just respond to light and darkness, it anticipates them. Your internal clocks don't just react to the environment, they predict it. Hours before the sun sets, your body's already beginning to prepare for sleep. Your core temperature starts to drop. Your blood pressure begins to decrease. And in your pineal gland, a tiny structure deep in your brain that ancient philosophers called the seat of the soul, the production of a hormone called melatonin begins to ramp up. Melatonin is often called the hormone of darkness, and for good reason. Its production is almost entirely controlled by light. When light hits your eyes, it sends a signal to your brain that suppresses melatonin production. When darkness falls, that suppression is lifted, and melatonin begins to flood your system. But melatonin is far more than just a sleep aid. It's a master regulator, a chemical messenger that tells every cell in your body what time it is. It coordinates the timing of countless biological processes, from DNA repair to immune system function, to the regulation of body temperature. In a very real sense, melatonin is how Earth's shadow talks to your cells. This connection between darkness and biological function runs so deep that it predates not just humans, not just animals, but complex life itself. Scientists have found that even bacteria produce melatonin, using it to protect themselves from oxidative stress. Plants produce it too, using it to coordinate their daily cycles of photosynthesis and growth. It's one of the most ancient and universal biological molecules we know of, a chemical signature of life's relationship with the rhythm of light and darkness. And yet, for most of human history, we never knew any of this existed. Our ancestors lived by the natural rhythm of light and darkness, going to sleep shortly after sunset and waking with the dawn, never realizing they were participating in a biological symphony billions of years in the making. They did, however, notice the power of Earth's shadow in other ways. When the moon passed into Earth's shadow during a lunar eclipse, turning blood red in the night sky, ancient civilizations saw it as a profound omen. The Chinese believed a celestial dragon was devouring the moon. The Mesopotamians thought demons were attacking it. The Incas believed a jaguar was eating the moon, and that once it finished, it might come down to Earth to devour all the animals. These weren't just superstitions. They were recognition of something our ancestors understood intuitively, that the interplay of light and shadow has power over life itself. They may not have understood the molecular mechanisms, but they could feel the psychological and physiological effects of dramatic changes in the light-dark cycle. Today, we understand far more about these mechanisms, but in many ways, we've lost touch with the rhythm itself. We live in a world of artificial light, where the boundaries between day and night have become blurred. We can work, shop, and socialize at any hour. We carry devices that emit light directly into our eyes, well past sunset. We've created what researchers call an artificial dawn that never ends, and our bodies are struggling to cope. Sleep disorders are epidemic. Depression and anxiety rates are climbing. Our immune systems are compromised. Our cognitive performance is declining. We're living out of sync with the rhythm that shaped us, and we're paying the price. But here's the thing, the rhythm is still there. Earth still rotates. The Terminator still sweeps across the planet twice daily. The shadow still rises from the eastern horizon each evening. Our internal clocks are still ticking, still trying to synchronize with the ancient signal. We just need to learn how to listen again. This is the secret hidden in Earth's shadow. It's not just an astronomical phenomenon or a curiosity of physics. It's the conductor of the greatest biological orchestra ever assembled, a symphony that includes every living thing on our planet. And you, right now, as you listen to this, are both a member of that orchestra and its audience. The shadow that falls across your bedroom tonight is an empty space. It's a signal, a message, an invitation to participate in something larger than yourself. It's your connection to the deepest rhythms of the cosmos, and your ticket to understanding one of the most profound mysteries of human existence. Why we sleep, why we dream, and how the darkness itself has become essential to who we are. But understanding this secret requires more than just knowing the science. It requires experiencing it, feeling it, allowing yourself to become aware of the subtle ways your body responds to the daily dance of light and shadow. It requires slowing down enough to notice what your ancestors knew by instinct. That nightfall isn't just the absence of light, but the presence of something else entirely. Something that's been waiting patiently for billions of years for life, to notice it, to synchronize with it, to become part of it. Something that's still waiting for you to come home to the rhythm that made you who you are. As we explore deeper into this hidden world, we encounter something that challenges everything we thought we knew about the nature of time itself. Your body doesn't experience time the way a clock does, measuring out seconds and minutes with mechanical precision. Instead, it experiences time as a living thing, a rhythm that breathes and flows and responds to the world around it. Scientists call this biological time, and it operates on principles that would have seemed magical to our ancestors. Your liver has its own sense of when to process toxins most efficiently. Your heart knows when to slow down and when to speed up, following patterns that mirror the rise and fall of hormones triggered by darkness. Your brainwaves shift through distinct patterns during sleep, each one timed to coincide with specific phases of cellular repair and memory consolidation. But perhaps the most remarkable discovery is this: your body's internal clock isn't set to exactly 24 hours. Left to its own devices without any external cues, the human circadian rhythm runs slightly longer than a day, typically between 24.2 and 24.5 hours. This means that every single day, your internal clock drifts a little bit out of sync with the rotation of the Earth, and every single day, the rising of Earth's shadow resets that clock, pulling it back into alignment with the planet's rhythm. It's as if your body is constantly trying to march to its own drummer, but the shadow of the Earth keeps gently tapping it on the shoulder, reminding it to keep time with the cosmic beat. This daily resetting process is so fundamental that when it gets disrupted, the effects cascade through every system in your body. Studies of people living in caves without any light cues show that their sleep-wake cycles begin to drift, sometimes by hours each day. Their body temperature rhythms become erratic. Their hormone production goes haywire. They lose track of not just time, but of themselves. This is why jet lag feels so disorienting. It's not just that you're tired at the wrong time, it's that every cell in your body is confused about what time it is. Your liver is trying to process food at 3 a.m. Your immune system is ramping up for action when it should be resting. Your brain is releasing alertness hormones when it should be producing the chemicals of sleep. The shadow knows what time it is, but you've moved faster than the shadow can follow. You've broken the ancient contract between your biology and the rhythm of the earth, and your body is scrambling to figure out how to put itself back together. But there's something even more profound happening here, something that takes us to the very edge of what we understand about consciousness itself. When darkness falls and melatonin begins to flood your system, you don't just become sleepy, you begin to change, quite literally, into a different version of yourself. Your brain starts to shut down the networks responsible for logical thinking and external awareness. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that analyzes and judges and plans, begins to go quiet. At the same time, other networks become more active. The default mode network, associated with self-reflection and autobiographical memory, starts to hum with activity. The limbic system, the ancient emotional center of your brain, begins to take the lead. This is why the transition into sleep can feel so strange, so otherworldly. You're not just getting tired, you're undergoing a fundamental shift in consciousness, guided by chemical signals that respond to the absence of light. You're becoming more intuitive, more emotional, more connected to the deeper currents of your psyche. And then, as sleep deepens, something even stranger happens. The boundaries of your normal waking consciousness begin to dissolve completely. Your brain begins to generate experiences that feel utterly real, but follow none of the logical rules of waking life. You enter the realm of dreams. Dreams have puzzled humanity since we first became aware of them. Every culture in history has developed theories about what they mean, where they come from, what purpose they serve. Some saw them as messages from the gods, others viewed them as glimpses into parallel worlds. Modern science has revealed them to be the product of a sleeping brain trying to make sense of random neural activity. But here's what's truly remarkable. The timing of your dreams is controlled by the same system that responds to Earth's shadow. The production of certain neurotransmitters that regulate dream sleep is directly influenced by melatonin. The deepest, most vivid dreams occur during specific windows that are timed to coincide with the darkest hours of the night. In other words, the shadow of the earth doesn't just tell you when to sleep, it tells you when to dream. The rotation of the planet, that same force that created the rhythm of light and darkness billions of years ago, is still choreographing the nightly theatre of your unconscious mind. This connection runs even deeper when we consider the content of dreams themselves. Studies show that people who sleep in complete darkness experience more vivid, more emotionally rich dreams than those who sleep with artificial light. The quality of the shadow, it seems, influences the quality of the dream. Ancient peoples understood this intuitively. They recognized that certain phases of the moon, certain times of year when the nights were longest, brought more powerful dreams. They built their spiritual practices around these natural rhythms, using the deeper darkness as a gateway to heightened states of consciousness. Modern sleep laboratories have confirmed what shamans and mystics have known for millennia. There's something about deep, natural darkness that unlocks aspects of human consciousness that remain hidden during the day. The shadow isn't just the absence of light, it's the presence of something else, something that allows the mind to access parts of itself that daylight keeps locked away. But perhaps the most profound aspect of this hidden secret is how it connects you to every other living thing on the planet. Right now, as you listen to this, the same shadow that's influencing your circadian rhythms is affecting creatures across the globe. In the Amazon rainforest, jaguars are beginning their nightly hunt, their pupils dilating in response to the same light-sensitive proteins that exist in your eyes. In the depths of the ocean, bioluminescent plankton are starting to glow, their internal clocks telling them it's time to rise toward the surface. Even plants, which we often think of as passive, are actively responding to the approach of darkness. Trees are slowing their photosynthesis and beginning the nighttime processes of cellular repair. Flowers are opening or closing depending on their species, some reaching toward the fading light, others preparing for nocturnal pollinators. The entire biosphere is synchronized to this rhythm, this daily dance of light and shadow, and you're part of it, whether you realize it or not. The sleepiness you feel as evening approaches isn't separate from the activities of the forest or the ocean or the meadow. It all extends from the smallest bacteria to the largest mammal's one system, one vast biological network that all keeping time together. This is why spending time in natural darkness feels so restorative. It's not just that you're getting better sleep, though you probably are. It's that you're reconnecting with something fundamental, something that artificial light has taught you to ignore. You're remembering at the cellular level that you belong to something larger than yourself. Indigenous cultures have always known this. They speak of the night as a time when the boundary between the human world and the natural world becomes permeable. They describe darkness not as empty space, but as a living presence, a teacher, a healer. Modern science is beginning to understand that they were right. The shadow that falls across the earth each night isn't just an astronomical event. It's a biological necessity, a daily reminder of your place in the larger web of life. It's the conductor that keeps the great orchestra of the biosphere playing in harmony. And when you learn to listen to its rhythm, when you allow yourself to synchronize with its ancient beat, something profound happens. You begin to sleep better, yes, but more than that, you begin to dream more vividly. Your immune system functions more efficiently. Your mood stabilizes. Your thinking becomes clearer. You start to feel more connected, not just to your own natural rhythms, but to the rhythms of the world around you. This is the secret hidden in Earth's shadow. It's not just about darkness. It's about belonging. It's about remembering that you're not separate from nature, but part of it. It's about understanding that the same forces that move the tides and turn the seasons are also moving through you, organizing your thoughts, regulating your emotions, orchestrating the nightly miracle of sleep and dreams. And the beautiful thing is, this secret is available to you every single night. You don't need special equipment or training or permission. You just need to pay attention, to notice the quality of light as evening approaches, to feel the subtle changes in your body as darkness falls, to allow yourself to surrender to the ancient rhythm that has been guiding life on this planet since the very beginning. The shadow is waiting for you. It's been waiting for billions of years, patient and persistent, offering the same gift to every generation. The chance to participate in something larger than individual existence, to become a part of the great biological symphony that connects all living things. Tonight, when you see that first hint of darkness creeping across the sky, remember what you're witnessing. You're seeing the edge of one of the most powerful forces in the universe, a force that shapes consciousness itself. You're watching the approach of your oldest teacher, your most patient healer, your connection to the deepest mysteries of what it means to be alive. The shadow teaches us something else, something that brings us to the very edge of what we can understand about reality itself. When researchers began studying what happens to the human brain during the deepest phases of sleep, they discovered something that challenged everything they thought they knew about consciousness. During the darkest hours of the night, when melatonin levels peak and the shadow's influence is strongest, your brain doesn't simply shut down. Instead, it begins to perform some of its most important work. Memories from the day are sorted, processed, and filed away. Toxins that have accumulated in brain tissue are flushed out through a specialized cleaning system that only operates during deep sleep. Neural connections are strengthened or weakened based on their importance. But perhaps most remarkably, your brain begins to generate new neural pathways, literally rewiring itself in response to the experiences of the day. This process, called neuroplasticity, happens most efficiently during the hours when darkness is deepest. The shadow isn't just telling your brain when to rest, it's telling it when to grow. This discovery has profound implications for how we understand learning, creativity, and even healing. The old saying about sleeping on it when facing a difficult problem turns out to have a solid scientific foundation. The brain that goes to sleep with a question often wakes up with an answer, not through magic, but through the systematic reorganization of neural networks that occurs during shadow-influenced sleep cycles. Musicians report that difficult pieces become easier after a night of sleep. Scientists describe waking up with solutions to problems that seemed impossible the day before. Artists speak of dreams that provide inspiration for new works. What they're all describing is the same phenomenon: the brain's ability to use the darkness hours for creative reorganization. This process is so fundamental that disrupting it has measurable effects on cognitive performance. People who sleep in environments with artificial light show decreased neuroplasticity. Their brains don't reorganize as efficiently. They struggle more with learning new skills and solving complex problems. They're literally thinking less clearly because their brains haven't had access to the full power of natural darkness. But the shadow's influence on consciousness goes even deeper than individual brain function. When groups of people sleep in sync with natural light-dark cycles, something remarkable happens. Their circadian rhythms begin to align not just with the Earth's rotation, but with each other. Studies of people living in traditional societies without electric lighting show that entire communities develop synchronized sleep patterns. They go to bed at roughly the same time, wake at roughly the same time, and even experience similar dream patterns. It's as if the shadow creates a kind of biological network, connecting individual consciousness into something larger. This synchronized sleeping isn't just a curiosity. It has real effects on social bonding, communication, and cooperation. Communities that sleep together, in this biological sense, show higher levels of empathy and social cohesion. They're better at working together, more willing to help each other, more connected at the fundamental level of shared experience. Modern urban life has disrupted this ancient pattern. We sleep at different times in different light environments, following individual schedules rather than collective rhythms. And perhaps not coincidentally, we report feeling more isolated, more disconnected from our communities, more alone even when surrounded by millions of other people. The shadow offers a path back to connection, not through technology or social media, but through the simple act of aligning our sleep with the natural rhythm of light and darkness. When we do this, when we allow the shadow to synchronize our internal clocks, not just with the Earth but with each other, we begin to remember what it feels like to be part of something larger than ourselves. This brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of the shadow's secret: its relationship with time itself. We think of time as linear, as moving forward in a straight line from past to future. But biological time, the time that governs sleep and dreams, and the deepest functions of life, operates differently. During sleep, your brain doesn't experience time the way it does during waking hours. Minutes can feel like hours. Hours can pass in what seems like seconds. Past, present, and future blend together in the fluid reality of dreams. You might dream of childhood memories, future possibilities, and impossible scenarios all within the same sequence. This isn't a malfunction of the sleeping brain, it's a feature. During these altered time states, your mind can make connections that linear, waking consciousness can't access. It can see patterns across different periods of your life, link seemingly unrelated experiences, and generate insights that transcend the normal boundaries of logical thinking. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this. They spoke of different kinds of time: linear time and circular time, chronos and kairos, clock time and soul time. They recognized that darkness offered access to these alternate temporal realities, these deeper ways of experiencing existence. Modern sleep research is beginning to validate these ancient insights. The brain waves that characterize deep sleep move in slow, synchronized patterns that are completely different from the rapid, chaotic patterns of waking consciousness. It's as if the sleeping brain operates according to different physical laws, different rules of space and time, and all of this is triggered by the simple absence of light, by the falling of Earth's shadow across your small corner of the world. The same astronomical event that occurs billions of times throughout the history of our planet becomes, in your sleeping brain, a gateway to alternate realities of consciousness and time. This is why traditional cultures placed such emphasis on dreams and the wisdom that could be found in darkness. They weren't being superstitious or unscientific. They were recognizing something that modern neuroscience is just beginning to understand. That the shadow doesn't just bring sleep, it brings access to forms of consciousness that daylight keeps hidden. But perhaps the most profound aspect of the shadow's secret is how it reveals the interconnectedness of all things. The same force that moves the planets also moves through your bloodstream. The same rhythm that guides the migration of birds also guides the nightly journey of your consciousness into sleep and dreams. This isn't metaphor or poetry, though it certainly sounds like both. It's measurable, quantifiable reality. The gravitational forces that hold the solar system together also influence the subtle electromagnetic fields in your brain. The cosmic radiation that bathes our planet also affects the molecular clocks in your cells. The rotation of the Earth that creates the cycle of day and night also creates the cycle of sleeping and waking that defines your daily experience of being alive. You are not separate from the cosmos, you are part of it, woven into its fabric at the most fundamental level. And nowhere is this connection more apparent than in your relationship with Earth's shadow, that daily reminder that you belong to something vast and ancient and ongoing. When you understand this, when you really feel it in your bones, something shifts in how you experience not just sleep, but existence itself. You begin to see your nightly journey into darkness not as a temporary absence from life, but as a return to your deepest connection with it. You begin to understand that consciousness itself is not confined to the bright, busy hours of daylight, but extends into realms of experience that can only be accessed through the doorway of darkness. The shadow has been keeping this secret for billions of years, waiting patiently for consciousness to evolve enough to recognize it. And now, in this moment, as you listen to these words, you're becoming part of that recognition. You're joining the ancient conversation between light and darkness, between sleeping and waking, between the individual mind and the cosmic rhythms that gave birth to it. This isn't the end of the secret. It's just the beginning of your awareness of it. Because once you start paying attention to the shadow, once you begin to feel its influence on your consciousness and your dreams, you realize that there are layers upon layers of mystery still to explore. The relationship between darkness and healing, the connection between sleep and creativity, the role of dreams in processing not just personal experience, but collective human wisdom. The possibility that consciousness itself extends beyond the boundaries of individual brains, connecting us through the shared rhythms of sleep and waking to something larger than any of us can fully comprehend. These are the deeper secrets that the shadow holds, the mysteries that reveal themselves only to those who are willing to surrender to the ancient rhythm, to trust in the wisdom of darkness, to remember that they are not visitors to this cosmic dance, but participants in it. The shadow is falling across your world right now, as it has every night for billions of years. It carries with it the same invitation it has always carried, to step out of the bright, busy world of individual consciousness and into the deeper reality of connection, healing, and transformation that can only be found in the embrace of darkness. Tonight, when you feel that familiar pull towards sleep, remember what's really happening. You're not just getting tired, you're being called home to the rhythm that made you, guided by the same force that shapes galaxies and moves mountains, invited to participate in the nightly miracle that connects you to every living thing that has ever existed. The secret is no longer hidden. It's right there in the shadow, waiting for you to step into it and remember who you really are. But there's something else the shadow teaches us, something that researchers are only beginning to understand, and it has to do with the nature of healing itself. When your body enters the deepest phases of sleep, guided by the darkness that surrounds you, it doesn't just rest, it transforms, it rebuilds, it performs repairs that can only happen when the conscious mind steps aside and allows deeper intelligences to take over. Your immune system, that complex network of cells and chemicals that protects you from disease, operates on its own circadian rhythm. But this isn't just any rhythm, it's precisely synchronized with the cycle of Earth's shadow. During the hours when darkness is deepest, when melatonin levels peak, your immune cells become most active. They patrol your bloodstream more efficiently. They identify and eliminate threats with greater precision. They coordinate their activities in ways that would be impossible during the bright, stimulating hours of day. This is why people who sleep poorly get sick more often. It's not just that they're tired, it's that their immune systems haven't had access to the optimal conditions for repair and renewal. The shadow isn't just telling them when to sleep, it's telling their bodies when to heal, but the healing goes deeper than fighting off infections or repairing damaged tissue. During these shadow-influenced hours, your body performs what can only be described as molecular maintenance. DNA that has been damaged by the day's exposure to radiation and toxins is carefully repaired. Proteins that have become misfolded are either corrected or eliminated. Cellular waste products are cleared away through specialized pathways that only operate efficiently in darkness. Scientists have discovered that this cellular housekeeping follows precise timing. Different types of repair happen at different times during the night, each one coordinated with specific phases of sleep, each one dependent on the hormonal cascades triggered by the absence of light. It's as if your body has an internal maintenance schedule written in the language of shadows that tells each system when it's time to perform its specialized cleaning and repair functions. This discovery has profound implications for how we understand aging, disease, and longevity. People who consistently align their sleep with natural light-dark cycles don't just feel better. They age more slowly, their cellular repair mechanisms function more efficiently, their DNA shows less accumulated damage over time. They're literally using the power of Earth's shadow to slow down the biological clock. But perhaps most remarkably, this healing extends beyond the physical realm into something that touches the very essence of who you are. Your memories, your emotions, your sense of self, all of these undergo their own form of repair and renewal during the hours when darkness reigns. The brain that sleeps deeply doesn't just consolidate memories randomly. It makes choices. It strengthens the neural pathways associated with meaningful experiences while allowing less important information to fade. It processes emotional experiences, integrating them into your larger understanding of yourself and your place in the world. It quite literally rewrites your personal history, deciding what to keep, what to let go, and how to weave it all together into a coherent sense of identity. This is why a good night's sleep can change how you feel about a difficult situation. It's not just that you're rested and thinking more clearly, it's that your brain has actually reorganized your relationship to the experience, guided by processes that only operate under the influence of natural darkness. The shadow doesn't just heal your body, it heals your story. And there's something even more mysterious happening during these deep healing phases. Researchers studying the brain waves of people in the deepest stages of sleep have discovered patterns that don't match anything seen during waking consciousness. Slow, synchronized oscillations that seem to coordinate activity across vast networks of neurons. Rhythms that pulse in harmony with the production of growth hormone, with the clearing of metabolic waste, with the consolidation of memories. It's as if the sleeping brain is tuning into something, synchronizing with rhythms that extend beyond individual consciousness. Some researchers have begun to wonder whether these patterns connect us to larger fields of information, whether the shadow-influenced brain has access to forms of intelligence that transcend individual thinking. This might sound like speculation, but consider the experiences that people report during these deep sleep states. Dreams that provide solutions to problems they've been struggling with for months. Insights that seem to come from nowhere, but turn out to be exactly what's needed. Creative breakthroughs that feel less like personal achievements and more like discoveries, as if the information was already there, waiting to be found. Artists, scientists, and inventors throughout history have described their most important discoveries coming to them in dreams or in the twilight state between sleeping and waking. They speak of receiving rather than creating, of being shown rather than figuring out. What they're describing sounds very much like consciousness that has been temporarily freed from its normal constraints, allowed to access information that daylight thinking can't reach. The shadow, in other words, might not just be triggering biological repair, it might be opening doorways to forms of intelligence that our ordinary waking minds can't access. This is why traditional cultures often spoke of darkness as a teacher, of night as a time when wisdom becomes available to those who know how to listen. But to access this deeper intelligence, you need more than just darkness. You need the right kind of darkness, not the artificial darkness of closed curtains and blackout shades, though those can help. You need the living darkness that comes from allowing yourself to synchronize with the actual rhythm of Earth's shadow as it sweeps across your part of the world. This means paying attention to the subtle changes in light quality as evening approaches. It means noticing how your body responds to the first hints of dusk. It means allowing yourself to wind down gradually as darkness deepens, rather than fighting against the biological signals that are trying to guide you towards sleep. When you do this, when you work with the shadow rather than against it, something remarkable happens. Your sleep doesn't just become deeper, it becomes more intelligent. Your dreams don't just become more vivid, they become more meaningful. Your healing doesn't just become more efficient, it becomes more complete. You begin to experience what our ancestors knew intuitively, that darkness isn't empty space waiting to be filled with artificial light. It's a living presence, a healing force, a teacher that has been waiting patiently for you to remember how to listen to its lessons. And the lessons go beyond individual healing. When communities of people begin to synchronize their sleep with natural darkness, something extraordinary happens to the social fabric itself. Empathy increases. Cooperation improves. Conflict decreases. It's as if the shared experience of surrendering to the shadow creates bonds that go deeper than ordinary social connections. This isn't just correlation. Studies of traditional societies that still live by natural light patterns show measurably different social dynamics than modern urban communities. Greater trust, more willingness to help strangers, stronger community bonds, less depression and anxiety, better overall mental health. The shadow, it seems, doesn't just heal individuals, it heals communities. It creates the conditions for forms of human connection that artificial light disrupts. When people sleep together in biological time, following the same rhythm of light and darkness, they begin to dream together, to heal together, to become part of something larger than individual existence. This is why the disruption of natural sleep patterns in modern society isn't just a personal health issue, it's a social crisis. We've broken our connection not just with the healing power of darkness, but with each other. We've traded the deep restoration that comes from shadow-synchronized sleep for the shallow stimulation of artificial light, and we're paying the price in isolation, anxiety, and disconnection. But the shadow is patient. It continues to fall across the earth every single night, offering the same invitation it has always offered: to step away from the artificial brightness that keeps us separate and step into the healing darkness that reminds us we belong to each other, to the planet, to the vast cosmic dance that gave birth to consciousness itself. This is perhaps the deepest secret hidden in Earth's shadow, that healing isn't just an individual process, it's a collective one. When you allow yourself to be guided by the natural rhythm of light and darkness, you're not just healing your own body and mind. You're participating in the healing of the larger web of life that connects all conscious beings. The shadow knows this. It has always known this. And every night, as darkness falls across your corner of the world, it extends the same ancient invitation to remember that you're not alone, that your healing is connected to the healing of everything around you, and that the deepest restoration comes not from fighting against the darkness, but from learning to trust its ancient wisdom. Tonight, when you feel that familiar pull towards sleep, when you sense your consciousness beginning to shift and change in response to the falling of Earth's shadow, pay attention to what's really happening. You're not just getting ready for bed, you're preparing to enter a realm of healing and transformation that connects you to the deepest mysteries of existence itself. The shadow is waiting for you there, as it has waited every night of your life, ready to guide you into the restorative darkness where healing happens, where wisdom emerges, and where you remember, if only for a few hours, that you belong to something infinitely larger and more beautiful than your individual worries and concerns. This is the gift the shadow offers every single night. Not just rest but renewal, not just sleep but transformation, not just darkness but the kind of deep living darkness that makes new light possible. The secret deepens when we realize that Earth's shadow doesn't just govern individual healing, but orchestrates something far more profound, the collective unconscious of our entire species. Every night, as billions of human beings surrender to sleep at roughly the same time across each time zone, something extraordinary occurs in the realm of human consciousness. We become part of a planetary nervous system, a global brain that thinks and dreams and processes the experiences of the day through the share of shadow-to-language-induced sleep. This isn't mysticism, it's measurable neuroscience. When large populations sleep simultaneously, their brain waves begin to synchronize not just with the circadian rhythms of their own bodies, but with statistical patterns that emerge across entire regions. Sleep laboratories have detected what they call collective sleep architecture, periods when the dream cycles of people, separated by thousands of miles, show uncanny similarities in timing and structure. During the deepest phases of night, when Earth's shadow is most complete, and melatonin production peaks across entire continents, something like a planetary consciousness emerges. Individual dreams begin to echo themes that appear simultaneously in the dreams of strangers. Creative insights surface in multiple minds at once. Solutions to collective problems seem to bubble up from some shared reservoir of intelligence that becomes accessible only when enough human brains are operating in shadow-synchronized harmony. This phenomenon explains something that has puzzled historians and anthropologists for centuries: why similar ideas, inventions, and cultural innovations tend to emerge simultaneously in different parts of the world, often among people who have no contact with each other. It's not coincidence, it's the shadow's influence on collective human intelligence, creating windows of shared consciousness that allow information to flow between minds through channels that daylight thinking cannot access. The ancient Greeks had a word for this, kairos, meaning the supreme moment of opportunity, the time when conditions align to make something possible that wasn't possible before. Modern sleep research is discovering that kairos isn't random. It's tied to the collective sleep cycles of human populations, to the moments when Earth's shadow creates optimal conditions for shared consciousness to emerge. But this collective dreaming comes with a responsibility that our ancestors understood better than we do. The quality of your individual sleep doesn't just affect you, it contributes to the larger field of human consciousness that emerges during the shadow hours. When you sleep poorly, when you disrupt your natural circadian rhythms with artificial light, you're not just harming yourself, you're weakening the collective intelligence that depends on synchronized sleep cycles to function properly. This is why traditional cultures place such emphasis on communal sleeping patterns, on rituals that helped entire communities wind down together as darkness fell. They understood intuitively what science is now proving, that human consciousness is not entirely individual, that our minds are connected through invisible networks that become most active during the hours when Earth's shadow reigns supreme. And the shadow's influence extends even beyond human consciousness into something that touches the very foundation of reality itself. Quantum physicists studying the behavior of particles at the molecular level have discovered that biological systems don't follow the same rules as non-living matter. Living cells seem to exist in a state of coherent quantum entanglement, where changes in one part of the system instantly affect other parts, regardless of the distance between them. This quantum coherence is most pronounced during sleep, when the electrical activity of the brain shifts into the slow, synchronized patterns that characterize deep rest. It's as if consciousness itself operates according to quantum principles that become most apparent when the mind is freed from the constraints of waking awareness. The shadow doesn't just trigger biological processes, it creates the conditions for consciousness to access quantum realities that are normally hidden beneath the surface of ordinary experience. Scientists studying this phenomenon have begun to wonder whether consciousness might be a fundamental property of the universe itself, not something that emerges from complex brain activity, but something that brain activity tunes into, like a radio receiving signals from an invisible broadcast. If this is true, then sleep becomes not just a biological necessity, but a technology for consciousness to connect with larger fields of information and intelligence. This perspective transforms our understanding of dreams from random neural firing to something more like communication, messages received from the quantum field of consciousness that permeates all reality. It explains why dreams so often contain information that the dreaming mind couldn't have accessed through normal means, why they provide solutions to problems that logical thinking couldn't solve, why they seem to connect us to forms of knowledge that transcend individual experience. The shadow in this view becomes a doorway, not just to biological healing, but to the fundamental intelligence of the cosmos itself. Every night, as you surrender to sleep, you're not just resting your body and mind, you're reconnecting with the source code of reality, the quantum field of pure potentiality from which all possibilities emerge. But accessing this deeper level of the shadow's secret requires something more than just good sleep hygiene. It requires a fundamental shift in how you understand the relationship between consciousness and cosmos, between individual awareness and universal intelligence. It requires learning to see sleep not as unconsciousness, but as a different form of consciousness, one that operates by different rules and has access to different information. This is why meditation traditions throughout history have paid such close attention to the transition states between waking and sleeping, why they've developed practices for maintaining awareness during the deepest phases of rest. They weren't trying to prevent sleep. They were learning to participate consciously in the quantum processes that sleep naturally activates. When you begin to approach sleep this way, when you start to see it as a form of exploration rather than just restoration, something remarkable happens. Your dreams become more lucid, your intuition becomes sharper, your creativity expands. You begin to receive insights and information that seem to come from sources beyond your individual knowledge and experience. You're tapping into what the shadow has always offered, but what modern life has taught us to ignore. Direct access to the field of consciousness that connects all living beings, the quantum network of intelligence that underlies all reality. This isn't supernatural, it's hypernatural, more natural than the artificial separation between mind and cosmos that daylight thinking creates. And so we arrive back where we began, but with new eyes to see. The shadow that will fall across your world tonight carries the same invitation it has offered since life first stirred in ancient seas. Not just to rest, but to remember, to reconnect with the deepest rhythms that made you who you are. Tonight, When darkness finds you, don't just surrender to sleep. Surrender to the mystery. Let Earth's shadow guide you home to the cosmic dance you were always meant to join. The secret was never hidden. It was waiting in the darkness for you to finally listen.